Hello gang, I'm Colonel Failure and this is the Colonel Reduced for March 2019. Okay, so well, that's February done and dusted. February's a short month anyway, but no, we've got that done. That's all out of our hair for the time being. On which note, I do need a haircut. It's starting to get a little bit shaggy, but yeah, these things happen. Right, February, super busy, very busy in February, and it also it paid off quite nicely. Overall, sorry, we're starting with stats. Okay, we always start with stats, but just letting you know that there is a framework to this particular escapade. As you will know, if you've been tuned in to Reduced for the past few months, we're on a bit of a burn at the moment. It's good stuff. So dialing back a little, if we go back a year, right? February last year, I earned 800 subscribers, and that was a pretty reasonable month, chalking up 290,000 of the views in the process. Not bad at all, but that was largely riding on Railway Empire, which had just come out, and I got in there reasonably early, along with a bit of Rise of Nations as well, which I'd also managed to do quite nicely off. Now, the thing with the channel is success breeds success. The more views you get, or the more minutes viewed you get, the more YouTube as an entity, the algorithm, as it's often referred to, will recommend you out to people. So the bigger you get, the more you get recommended. Okay, this is fairly straightforward because all the algorithm's trying to do is find stuff that it thinks people want to watch. If nobody's watching your stuff, then who's it going to recommend it to? It has a finite number of people. It kind of goes, well, maybe these people. And with any time you put up a new video, it always does give you a bit of a nudge outwards to see if you get a bite. If you don't get a bite, then it doesn't yield any further minutes, which means that you don't get any more views, which means you don't get any further uplift. So the main secret to success in terms of growing your channel range, your channel reach, is in feeding the algorithm exactly what it wants, which is more minutes viewed means greater exposure, and if you can then suck people in to watch some more, especially new people, then it will expose you further still. Well, it's exposing business. It sounds rather rude, but it's not. So for the last year was ultimately quite frustrating. I bobbled around between, where's the low water mark for last year? Low water is 215,000 views in a month. Now, I mean, if you're running a small channel, that's not to be sniffed at. Obviously, it's taken quite a bit of work to get to that point, but it wasn't ahead of where I'd been in the previous year, so it was a little bit frustrating. The high watermark was 336,000, which was in July. No, it wasn't. That was the previous year. No, it was July again. 303,000 until you start to get towards the end of the year. In September, for example, we hit 399,000, which is very good. That's the Project Hospital Alpha with a bit of Depraved in there that helped kind of juice that up a bit. And then getting on towards December, December was very good. So September I did 1,500 new subscribers in a month. Ace. Those are the kinds of numbers that I should be targeting these days. I think 1,000 in a month as a baseline is showing solid growth. And frankly, if I'm not at the point now where I'm growing solidly, where it looks like, okay, you've maybe maxed out here in terms of your potential audience, then I'd have to reevaluate whether I kind of ditch the aspiration of going full-time and go like, right, I've just become a hobbyist. I scale it back a little bit, just put out some hobby videos and gradually increase my number. But no, the opposite is true. I'm growing better than ever. And February is testimony to that. Second biggest month ever. And you know already that the biggest month ever is going to take some hell of a beating, because that's Transport Fever launch month, where I had a whole week early access where there were maybe 5 channels that were covering it. So Transport Fever 2, I won't have that luxury. There are far too many people that will pile on, and you lot, some of them. So I won't have the same luxury then, and if you think it will do for you what it did for me, I'm afraid that's unlikely. Even if your content is significantly, I hate calling it content, is significantly better than mine, you still won't grow at that rate, simply because the dilution of audience will mean that you don't get that kind of surge. If you want to get that kind of growth all in 1 month, go find a game that's going to be much, much bigger than a virtual train set. You'll benefit from that. Small games, small audience. Big games, big audience. If you can find big audience plus small number of competitors, you've got a chance. If you've got a small game with a small number of competitors, good chance, but not a great one. I digress. February was also the second biggest month of all time for views. 508,000 of them, to be precise. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. Now the all-time score for subscribers, 6,200. That's Transport Fever launch month. And that same month, 598,000 views. So last month I was not far off my biggest month ever. That's the stuff. But we're on a rolling charge at the moment, and this is what I mean by numbers being self-reinforcing, is, well, let's back up. So between, excuse me, September 2017 and August 2018, the most subscribers I scored in a month was 900, pretty much dead on the mark. Then in September we hit 1,500, October 900 again, but remember that's the high score for the year. Then November 1,200, December 1,100, January 1,300. It's all going the right way, and the views are stacking up behind that as well. I have yet to drop below 300,000 views in a month this year. I know I've only completed 2 months, but for the last 5 months we're 300 plus, and here we are, week 2 of March, and I'm already on 248,000 views for the month and 893 new subscribers. This is very promising. This is good. Now, Social Blade, which is a site that tracks progress of, well, it tracks data that is harvested from various different channels, has predicted last year that my channel would hit 50,000 subscribers in late September. Now, I thought that was pushing it a bit. I mean, to put some context on that, in 2017 I made 9,600 subscribers full year. In 2018 I made 9,900 subscribers full year. So far, after 2 and a bit months, I'm on 4,500. So I am on a tear. I didn't think that that hitting the 50k this year was going to be likely, but now it looks inevitable. Touch wood and make sign of warding and throw salt over my shoulder and all of that kind of business, but it does look like 50,000 is coming up. And through talking to some people at Yogscast, they seem to believe that if you can get to that 50,000 mark, that's the point at which a channel just goes bananas. All right, you heard it here first. I don't know if it will happen or not, but the one thing that is ultimately true is, if I don't keep improving the standard of video that I do, and the tone of my commentary and the thought that goes into each individual video, I'm not going to grow more than slightly. So for example, I mean, there are channels out there that are growing at, you know, 10 of my size, that are growing by 100% a month. They're doubling their size every month, because every new person who sees their video goes, this is terrific, I want a piece of it, I'm going to go tell one of my friends, and the algorithm is constantly going, right, send it to more people, this channel's going places. Right, now those are rare, you don't find them very often, but they're the people that have really latched onto something that has popular appeal. And I'm never going to have massive popular appeal for young Herberts who like their extraordinary music and screaming in your face camera action and that kind of business. I'm never going to appeal to them. I appeal to a more erudite audience like yourselves, and therefore my audience is always going to be a little bit smaller, but I'm comfortable with that. I'll take smaller and maybe a little bit more relaxed, and people who appreciate a reasonable bit of wordplay once in a while, rather than fart gags. Ain't nothing wrong with a good fart gag, but the majority of them are pretty poor. So there you go. So that's where I'm up to. I'll pass 9 million lifetime views on the channel, which is silly. I'll pass that in the next week or two. That's fun. And 10 million will come around in probably about 3 months, because I doubt I'll hit the 500,000 views again this month. Looks pretty possible so far, but I'm not, you know, there's a lot that underpinned that 500,000 view. And Derail Valley, not least of all. I just hit a sweet spot of games to cover that really spoke to my existing audience, which means I got pushed further. And with Derail Valley particularly, I was an early mover on that. I already had kind of the train sim audience somewhat locked up as being a channel to observe, or to keep an eye on, let's say, and therefore there was good kind of a natural relationship going on with those guys. I still don't want to be Trains Guy. That's not what I set out to be. But it turns out that actually I can do quite a decent piece of trains-based narration on an occasion. Right, so let's put the past behind us and talk about the present. It's rich pickings at the moment as far as games that are suited to my channel are concerned. Foundation. I really enjoy Foundation. It's got a lot of Banished about it, but it's less cruel. The view numbers weren't awesome, but I know that it did attract it attracted new subscribers who really liked my approach to things, where it's, you know, it's a little bit poorly planned, but there is a plan rather than it just organically growing in the mathematical method that leads to victory. There was an idea behind it, even if the idea was flawed. And there's, you know, all of the usual talking to little AI people and remarking on what they're doing and all of that kind of jazz. Fun to record, easy to record, and that makes it a joy. Also allows me to go back to a proper length episode, so 20 to 25 minutes is a proper length episode. This hour-long stuff that I'm doing for Transport Fever at the moment, don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic engine for driving my channel because of the number of view minutes that it's generating, but it's not an efficient use of time at all. Well, actually, it is efficient in terms of effort versus reward, but it's not easy, right? So in the space that it takes me to record 2 episodes of Transport Fever these days, I could have recorded 5, 6 episodes of something else. And therefore it's a big time sink in order to make that work. We'll see, we'll see. But Foundation, just no room in the schedule, because the main, that still, even with all my caveats regarding a potential Transport Fever 2, the main path to success is get in early. If you're not in early, you've missed it. I missed Factory Town by 2 days, and that was the keys were sent out to channels similar to mine and those who'd requested them 2 days before I recorded my video. I had it, I went like, yeah, got to get this done, got to get stuff out, but I'd already got the week's worth of stuff queued up. Those who jumped on it first got in there proper quick. And I was also focused on Soviet Republic at the time. Now, that one I did hit early, and it's paid off. Now, not early enough, but I started covering it the second I got the key. Keralis had it for 2 weeks beforehand. Can't compete with that, and if you're a small channel, you're never going to compete with that. You're not going to get in early either, because from a developer's perspective, they want the biggest hit as early as possible. If you miss that early doors, then you have to dedicate yourself to that game, to that genre, in order to carve out a niche for yourself. And then your videos need to be better than everybody else that you're going toe to toe with, or you won't get the viewers. So it's a question of persistence and staying true to it. And this goes back to when I covered Train Fever originally, is I started making videos on it when it was 6 months, 8 months old. So I missed the early window entirely, but it really resonated for me, so I stuck with it, and stuck with it, and stuck with it, and stuck with it. And by the time Transport Fever had rolled around, there were only 5 channels that were covering the game at all. You know, it was 2 years old by that point. It had never sold absolute gangbusters, but I was the biggest channel that was still covering it, which paved the way for me to Transport Fever up and out and away. So yes, that's what you have to do. If you're not going to be the first mover, it's the 2 rules to success: get there first or get there best. If you can do both of those, you'll win. The end. So yeah, Soviet Republic, I think I'm doing a halfway decent job on. Not in terms of gameplay, no. In terms of videos, I think I'm doing a halfway decent job with the videos, and people seem to be enjoying them, and therefore I'm going to keep doing it. And also, it is such a close match for the Train Fever audience. It is so closely aligned to that in terms of mindset. It feels, to play it, it feels like you switch into the same game mode as if you were playing Transport Fever. I know it's completely different because it's not 100% about transport, but it is a very, very similar mindset. So there is excellent crossover there. So I'm going to be covering that for the next month at least, especially while it's doing the numbers. And at the moment, the numbers, I've mentioned this before, but I have a low bar, right? Which everything must clear the low bar or I won't continue to cover it. Foundation was barely getting above the low bar. The first couple did fine, but people switched off from it. It wasn't engaging enough for my kind of core audience. So people were disengaging from it. Factory Town also has not done well, and I'm really enjoying it and haven't done enough of it yet. But Soviet Republic is resonating with my core audience. So the kind of the baseline acceptable performance level that I'm doing at the moment is about 2,500 views. If you can hit 2,500 views in a week, you're worthy of keeping around. If you can't, then I'm wasting my time in covering it. And this is why things like motorsport and baseball don't make the cut. If nobody's watching it, I've only got a limited amount of time, and no matter how much I'm enjoying the process of making that video, if my objective is growth, why am I wasting my time on things that are not growing what I'm doing at all? Very happy to still be doing motorsport as a backer exclusive. That's great. I do enjoy the game largely because it's just such fun to commentate. But yeah, but it's, I think I might say that's enough at the end of this series. I know we've just started one. I might say that's enough, and we'll move on to another exclusive. Maybe it's Foundation. Who knows? Anyway, the 4th game in this kind of cavalcade of tycoonist-esque, automation-esque kind of related is Satisfactory, and I got the inkling, probably with about 3 weeks to go, that the number of people that were going to get keys was gargantuan. And that would mean that my channel, as much as it's not tiny now, it's still small fry, that I wouldn't get cut through. No matter how clever I was about it, I would not cut through and get viewers. And there's another thing. I started out covering Factorio, and what I've learned about Factorio is nobody watches the videos. Nobody watches them. It's not a good game to watch. For tutorials, for information-based stuff, great, no problem at all. But for Let's Play, you'd rather be just playing it for yourself. Now, if you like the tone of voice of someone who's covering it, sure, you'll listen to it. Catherine of Sky is a great example. She's great to listen to, but in terms of watching the gameplay, no, it's just not there. And you can see that in the view count she gets. Now, she's currently, last time I checked, she was on around 80,000 subscribers, and she's barely scraping 2,000 views a video. Warning, That's not worth your time. Yeah, it's a very, very narrow audience, and I think Satisfactory is going to go the same way because it's more fun to play and it's very difficult to make compelling on a viewing basis. Although, saying that, I think I have an angle that is significantly different to how everybody else will be covering it, and as such, I think it might work. It is a very enjoyable game. Let's make that clear. It's very enjoyable to play, and as such, I recommend it. It feels more like an open world survival game than it does anything else. Feels more like that than Factorio. It's more like Fortress Craft. Fortress Craft Evolved is the closest comparison you're going to get. But it is, yeah, I mean, it's just great. The automation side of things, however, is here's the big secret. It's not going to be as popular as Factorio. Oh, it'll sell very, very nicely, but it's not going to hold on to people for that long. Just won't. Your inability to see what you're doing is pretty tricky, but it looks spectacular. It's great to play. It's an awful lot of fun. You will have fun if you buy it and you like that kind of thing. But there you go. So yeah, I don't intend to cover Satisfactory for very long because it's not going to hold people's interest particularly well unless I really nail the video format. And those of you who hang out in Kernel School know that that one of the things I advocate more than anything else is come up with a unique way of showing things. If you're just doing, and now I'm going to place this, and then we research the thing that does this and that and this, and oh, I have now finished it, the power is down, I don't have enough. If you sound like that, well, you won't, firstly, but if you are just going to deliver a step-by-step, here's what I've done, snooze fest. Snooze fest. You have to come up with something that people can latch onto. You have to make a story out of it. You have to make if you're not going to make a visual spectacle, you've got to make a human interest story for people to identify with, to grab onto in order to get something interesting out of it. But yeah, Satisfactory, probably about a month of that at the most. Okay, so now, due to being overloaded with new games that are worthy of being covered on my channel, for the last week I have put out 2 episodes a day, mostly 2 episodes a day, and it was brutal. I'm not gonna lie. I ended up fluffing the schedule I'd set for myself for the last couple of days. Couldn't do it. Couldn't be done. I've changed my recording methodology because I am currently consulting rather than working full-time. It means that my weekly hours have moved around a bit. I'm also doing some good family stuff in not recording when the house is full of people, which I used to do. I used to say, right, I need 2 hours, I'm going to go and record some stuff. I'm not doing that now. So I've taken some kind of family life stuff back. Good. But it means that I've scheduled my recording very differently. And I'll be honest with you, I can't exactly remember how I did it before. So yeah, I don't know how I managed it. But 2 episodes a day can't be done. Just not on my current timeline, in the slightest. There was an element of cannibalization that went on as well. And that is, if you put out a video, let's say 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you put another one out 3 hours later, you lose some of the videos from that 3 p.m. video because they just kind of go, oh, I'll just watch the next one. You know, I want to watch some of his stuff, but I haven't got time to watch all of it. Now, if you're going to undercut your own work in that fashion, then that video is not going to perform as well as it could do. So Factory Town being underperforming, as I mentioned a moment ago, well, that could equally be down to the fact that I've been multi-episoding it. I'm not actually giving it enough energy. You know, if I don't put out anything else, people are just kind of going, well, none of these channels have really got much going on. Oh, the Kernel's usually got a laugh or two in there. I'll go and watch that. great. But if you've got 2 to choose from, you only pick one of them. So, so that's really tricky. So yeah, 2 a day, forget that noise, not doing that again. Firstly, it's brutally hard to do when you're trying to juggle work and family and home responsibilities and it means that other projects that you've got going on, no matter what they may be, have to take a bit of a back seat. Yeah, I don't have that kind of luxury at the moment. When I'm making enough cash to do this on a, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week basis, then 2 episodes a day becomes possible. But I'm not going to do 2 episodes a day then either. Again, this is a kernel school kind of conversation, but I've said that the perfect number of videos to do per week is one video per week, but it's one video that is excellent, both in terms of you have correctly identified the audience that is likely to watch that video, with you've picked the right game to cover for that audience, coupled with pure excellence in terms of editing and pacing and commentary and music and any graphics that you're using and anything else, so that you end up with a 1 episode per week for 20 minutes piece of pure joyful entertainment. That's ideal. That's absolutely ideal. That's where you want to get to. In my case, what I would need that to do would be that each episode I put out for 1 a week would do a minimum of 100,000 views. I ain't there yet, people. I'm not yet. Oh, I'm not. And neither am I thinking about dropping to 1 episode a week. I think if I were to go full time and I were to invest in the excellence of each individual video, I would probably drop to 3 videos per week. But they would be properly good. And I'd constantly be bombarding. I wish he'd upload more often. I kind of go, no. You want the quality. The quality is what you're after. As much as, I'll keep you company with a bit of chat on a regular basis. There's more to it than that. I have high watermarks in terms of quality videos. If you think back to, well, let's do the most recent one. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a moment. A startup company. That startup company video I'm really happy with. I think as a one-off, it delivered exactly what I wanted to kind of put out there. I played 5 hours of gameplay. That's 5 hours of gameplay edited down. So if you think about an episode of Transport Fever, that's 1 hour of gameplay, maybe 1 hour and 20 minutes. Well, this was 5 hours of gameplay. I recorded the voiceover after recording the gameplay, which meant that I was watching through it. Now, I was skimming through it, looking for the right moment to kind of comment on, so I didn't have to watch 5 hours back again. I probably watched, let's say, 90 minutes of it back again, so we're now up to 6.5 hours. I then commissioned Plastic Swans, Bad Company member, to do a little bit of voiceover for me, and I put together a nice little Cheerio sting. Great, well, that's another half an hour gone right there. Mixing in the sound and then editing it all together and putting in transitions and tying together a story and doing multiple takes on a piece of VO if it didn't quite come off perfectly, finding the right piece of footage to put up against the voiceover. This is all time consuming. All told, that video took me about 8 hours. You're possibly even more than that. But the quality that you get at the other end of that is actually, it's very good. I think it hangs on its own quite nicely. That nobody's interested in the game, well, that's par for the course. That's what you get. If I'd done it on a game at launch that had massive interest all of a sudden, let's say it was a Dawn of Man video, right? And that had come out on launch day last week, just before it sold absolute bucket loads, then it would have done some serious numbers. But you can't predict when one's going to go kablooey. You've got best guess available. Besides which, something like Dawn of Man doesn't necessarily lend itself to that kind of format video, although saying that out loud right now, I've got a pretty good idea of how I would go about doing that. But that's what you need. It's a combination of excellent video plus sizable game plus timing. Right? That is the route to success right there. Timing, excellent game, and sizable interest. No, excellent video and sizable interest. If you put all those three things together, you win. If you take any one of those things away, you don't win. And it's as easy as that. You don't win. If you miss one of those three, then it will be a run-of-the-mill video for you. It won't do anything spectacular. Backing up a little bit further, if you think about my videos on Tourist Bus Simulator or on Thief Simulator, those were an absolute hoot to do. Thief Simulator was really easy to record. Bus Simulator a little bit more difficult because I edited some of it down and did some post voiceover on that as well, and then I created the custom bus skin, which I thought was only going to take half an hour. I've done skinning before. How difficult can it? Oh, you'd be surprised. I ended up having to load somebody else's skin, and then I overwrote their skin file with the graphic that I wanted to. Oof, effort. But the end effect was worth it. I'm very happy with those videos because they're closer to the kind of videos that I want to be making. That's not to say that I don't enjoy doing train sim. That I don't enjoy doing Transport Fever videos, because I definitely do. But they're not the kind of videos I want to be making. I want to be making better stuff. And right now, the better stuff videos that I make appeal more to my Type 2 subscribers than they do my Type 1s. Oh, there's some terminology for you. A Type 1 subscriber subscribes to the channel because they are interested in a particular piece of subject matter, and they don't object to the way that that channel delivers that subject matter. Case in point, Transport Fever. You may be subscribed because you really like Transport Fever and you don't mind the way that I deliver it. Good. You are a Type 1 subscriber. A Type 2 subscriber is someone who turns up because they're interested in Transport Fever, but they like the way that I deliver it to the extent that they check out other videos that I do and kind of go, actually, I'm now more interested in your take on anything than I am on your take on one thing only. Now, obviously, there are sticking points. You know, you might not like game X, for example, and therefore you don't watch it. But there might be 3 or 4 different games that I cover that you end up watching. That would make you a Type 2 subscriber. Now, obviously, you are going to have way more Type 1 subscribers, which is subject matter first, personality second, than you are Type 2s, which is personality equal to or exceeding subject matter. So, you know, the more people you've got in the top of the funnel, the more people you get at the bottom of it, basically. And that's what gives you the freedom to be able to cover just about anything you please. If you are a personality-led channel, so if you are Jacksepticeye, for example, that is a perfect example of a personality-led channel. I've got a lot of time for Jacksepticeye. I think he is, sorry, throwing things around as usual. I think his personality really comes through. His editing is very strong. His personality shines through, all of that stuff. And yes, he's very loud and he's very bouncy, and many people may find him annoying. And that's fine. That's subjective taste. There's nothing wrong with not liking it. I'm not saying everybody should like it. But he delivers against that extraordinarily well. And he just covers whatever he feels like. Anything at all. Because it's his personality that's running the show. So there you go. So that's... So that's the difference, right? Is quality editing and quality in video production. It takes time. So yeah, I'd love to work a 40 plus hour week making videos where I'm spending 10 hours on each of 3. And then the other 10 would be in doing things like making sure comments are done and being zany on social media and finishing the store and anything else that is going on in there, and probably running a live stream each week or something like that. That's the aspiration. That's where I want to get to. But I'm not there yet. No, I'm not. And there is a certain amount of Well, if you started making quality videos, maybe you'd get there faster. Coupled with, if you pivot from your current 7 a week into a quality video only approach to things, will that accelerate or slow your growth? I think it will slow it. And particularly coming off a month that has been quite successful, I've got a format that works. Therefore, don't mess with it for now. Leave it alone. Let it do its thing. This is more kind of general long-term pontificating. When I've got a big milestone coming up, you have to kind of go, okay, so what? Anyway, I'm about to start doing a big commercial push. Now, this doesn't affect you so much, apart from the fact that it'll be in your face a little bit, because you're already contributing, right? All I need to do now is find 2 or 3 times your number, and I can go full-time. Right, that's the end of that message. That's the goal, and it is certainly achievable within the next 12 months if I keep focused and I further refine my video output, and if once in a while I do something that triggers people to actually sign up. Now, my initial Patreon campaign took a little while to get started. You know, I got a good chunk of people in early doors who liked what I was doing and thought, yeah, I'll come along for this ride, and who offered some support, which is incredibly encouraging. But it wasn't until I covered 7 Days to Die and joining up, the kind of the foundation point for Bad Company, and that joining up would entitle you to come and join the game. That's what took my backing number from here up to there. And it did it almost overnight. It was terrific. Since then, I generally go upwards in terms of backing amounts, and that's great. But the pressure is on me to continue to put out things that are going to engage people particularly well, and to make sure that everybody feels welcome and involved, and you know, you can pick up you can choose your own level of involvement in all of the backer-based stuff that I do, and hopefully I don't hide that too opaquely. So hopefully you find the motorsport videos easy enough, and if you want to come and hang out on Discord and just talk nonsense all day with a bunch of friendly people, then that's easily done. I'll make sure I've got a link to it in the description here. But, you know, there is the constant challenge to make sure that you're getting the experience that you want out of this, that you can come and chat to me occasionally, and you can, you know, get involved in multiplayer games when they come up. And I know for some of you, you're helping out because you want to see me succeed. In fact, I imagine most of you are helping out because in some fashion you want to see this channel go places and succeed and so forth. Well, firstly, you're bloody lovely. Secondly, that's a perfectly fine reason for doing so. I guess a great reason for doing so, but that doesn't stop me kind of going, I want to make sure that they're getting something in exchange for this. So that's that. Now, Startup Company was my first paid video, except they haven't paid me. I delivered the video. I'm making myself responsible for this because I didn't get anything in writing beforehand other than a couple of emails in exchange. And to be honest, if they end up not paying me, as much as I might go, at the same time, I made a great video that I really like, and therefore I'm over it. But, you know, a deal is a deal, and I'm not going to work with you again, dude, if you stiff me when you've offered to pay. How much? $100. That was fair enough. The only reason that I said I'd do it was it was a game that I'd meant to cover anyway. Just missed the window, as is so often the case. I'll regularly pick up games and go, yeah, I'll cover that, and then won't, just because time. So yeah, so you know, I won't be too crestfallen if he doesn't cough up on that front. But it allowed me to try out, you know, the my opening that I've had in mind for a while for if I do a sponsored video. Because you have to be upfront about the fact that people have paid you to make it, and so I wanted to be absolutely blunt about it. Let me know how you thought that went. Secondly, Scale About. Well, okay, right, a Scale About came to me and they said, oh, how do you fancy answering questions for money? And I went, all right then. And I've had half a dozen so far. Jeff, if you're watching, I'm still going to get it done for you. You said there was no time pressure. If the Scale About thing expires, as it's supposed to expire after 5 days, they wrote to me and said, you're supposed to have done this already, you know. And I said, it's all right, I've spoken to him and I'm working on it. I am going to do it. Let's put a date on that, shall we? I'll do it this week. Yeah, I should be able to get it done this week, and it'll be a nice 5 to 10 minute, but I'm doing you a full episode condensed down with everything we spoke about. And you're absolutely right, I should charge more for that. If Jeff's feeling willing, we'll share that amongst others. But it's a little special video. Anyway, Scale About is a video on demand service. I might put out, let me know if you're interested or not. Now, I'm not trying to sting you for cash, right? I'm genuinely not trying to sting you for cash. Although when the store opens, if you don't buy a t-shirt, I'll be very upset. No, right, Scale About, yeah, is $10 for a video-based answer, which is me yabbering onto the camera. It's supposed to be a 3-minute video. I think my shortest one so far has been about 9. Well, that's just me. I'll scale that down as the time comes. They came to me and said, it's a brand new service, how'd you fancy getting in early doors? And I'm now one of their top performing channels after getting 6. So obviously they're still bedding in a little bit in terms of getting any traction on there. Is it the sort of thing that's interesting or not? That's my question. Second question is, if I were to say, right, for $100 United States, I will do a standard 20-minute episode of name a game that I have covered previously, but I'll do a polished job on it and I'll cut it properly, and you can then choose whether it is released to the channel or whether it is one that is yours and yours only. If it's released to the channel, it would be a your name in lights kind of thing. I don't expect any of you to kind of pick me up on this, but if that's the kind of thing that you'd kind of go, yeah, I could see that working, I could see that going for someone. And equally, if you've got kids that love another channel, not mine, and you know, they really like that channel personality or whatever, is that the kind of thing that as a gift that would make their millennia, for example? Now, I don't get many kids follow my channel, but this is where I'm thinking actually this was partly Jeff's idea, is that it's a gift proposition. It's something that can be chosen, used as wrapping for a present, almost. Something like that. Okay, and then there's streaming, right? Moving on from Scale About, we're now talking about streaming. Every time I stream, quite a few of you generous people, but other generous people as well, you know, they'll fling a couple of quid into the tip bucket there. Sometimes they'll fling several quid into the tip bucket. I've had a couple of occasions where people have slung quite a lot of quid into the tip bucket. Lovely. But streaming for me is, it's always head and shoulders in terms of pure earning, and I apologize for talking about commercial stuff, but I'm kind of laser focused on going full time. Yeah, streaming pays off very nicely, but I have a very significant inkling that it's because I do it rarely. I average, for the last few months, I average about once a month that I'll do a stream, and therefore it's always a bit of a special occasion, and it's always quite interesting, and there's always a party atmosphere going on in there. And as much as I enjoy it, I come away from every stream that I do completely mentally burned out, because I am trying to juggle so much at the same time. When I watch someone else stream and they're not engaging with the chat while at the same time being aware of, I'm here to watch you play the game, dude, as much as I'm here because you're doing this live. It's about that two-way street, but fundamentally the game comes first. If it was just, come along and chat with Kernel Failure, well, that's a piece of cake, because I could just talk it off the top of my head. But the way that I stream is effectively, it's exactly the same as if I was recording an episode, with the addition of an extra 4 windows that I need to keep an eye on and respond to and reference into what it is that I'm working on. And I find it mentally exhausting. When I'm doing a solid recording session of just regular videos, I max out at around 3 hours because any more than that and my throat starts to go a little bit and my brain starts to go, no, you're done. Sometimes I get in the zone and I'll record for 6, 7, 8 hours straight. That's always great because it means that I've got a heck of a lot of material. Hey, step 1, create the material. Step 2, edit the material. Step 3, put the material on the internet. Step 4, rake in the views and hopefully get a few subs out of it. So streaming always bang for buck is very good from my perspective, but I think it's the scarcity that makes that work. So it's not something I plan on uplifting for the time being. Second, and finally, on Colonel Failure's commercial wilderness is the long-awaited store revamp. It needs a full day, I think, 1 full day to work to get that store up and running. If I try and space it out and do half an hour here and half an hour there, then it'll end up taking 2 days. And I don't mean half an hour one day, half an hour another. No, it will take 2 days worth of working hours to get it up to scratch. So I want to do it all in one sitting. And the question is, when's the best time to do that? The best time is yesterday. The second best time is today. I'm not going to get to it today. That's not going to happen. I mean, look, this is Reduced, right? Reduced goes out in the first week of the month. You know that. You've been here long enough. It's the second week of the month. What's going on? I was swamped, absolutely swamped last week. And you saw, because I put out so many videos. So, yeah, any day that I have available for this kind of nonsense, I can only spend it once. And you either spend it on recording or you spend it on ancillary stuff. I still need a new Patreon trailer. I need a better channel trailer than the one I've got up at the moment, which is the 2018 highlights video. It's fine if you were there, that video. I mean, go have a look and say, if you haven't watched it already, or you have watched it, go remind yourself. If you were there and you saw those videos when it happens, you are reminded of all the context surrounding those individual moments, and therefore they resonate in a funnier way than they do in isolation. In isolation, they're just a bit of, it's like, here's 15 minutes of random quips, some of which are funny, most of which you don't really understand the context. And that's the problem with it. So I need to put a proper trailer together, and will do. Right, moving on. This is already a long video. Multiplayer. Satisfactory. I've been doing that multiplayer with Grumpworks. That's been a lot of fun. He's been very generous in terms of allowing me to just chunter on for hours on end while making the videos, and his commentary has bounced in really quite nicely. So that was a lot of fun to do. But I'm planning a couple of multiplayer adventures on a trial basis to see if I can find some magic in there. Pay attention to Discord if that's the kind of thing you want to get into. I'm not telling you what games it is. I think I might have mentioned a couple of them already, but there'll be one-offs to start with. If you're invited, it's because I think you bring something to the party in terms of tone of voice. Now, here's why I'm so picky about it, is I need co-commentators who bounce well with, who gel with my particular style and tone. It's why the stuff with Stegs worked so well, is because we both perform a character while doing the recording. My standard video stuff, you know, it's me just dialing my personality in a slightly different direction to the way it is normally. I'm usually this chatty. This is not me turning anything on particularly. This is kind of just me. But when I'm recording a gameplay video, I turn up my, I don't know, what would you call it? I mean, kind of my surrealist side a little bit more. My willingness to storytell, and the kind of the magpie brain. I turn that on. Now, I've got magpie brain to start with, in that I easily distract myself. But when I'm recording a video, I pursue that on a regular basis because it generates events and activities and points of interest that if I was just focused on playing the game, I wouldn't get to. So with multiplayer, I need people whose audible and gameplay personas mesh with that in such a way that it leads to funny, or it leads to fun, or it leads to entertaining. And Stegs was properly good in that respect, because you know, he brought overconfidence coupled with boyish enthusiasm and a refusal to yeah, I mean, basically he played like a small child. And now, that's not his default personality. He dialed it up. He dialed it in a particular direction, because obviously I know him in the real world. So what I'm looking for is someone who is not another one of me, someone who does have a situationally dialed persona that might fit in with the mix quite well. Ali, here's an interesting one. So those of you who remember when Stegs and I did a couple of videos with Ali on PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and a couple on Sea of Thieves, Ali was really good. The reason we added Ali into the mix was she had a different voice. You know, American accent, and female. Well, there you go. How's that then? And as far as audio is concerned, that extra slice of audio kind of dynamism worked really well. The downside was that her playing persona was too similar to that of Stegs. So it wasn't, so she didn't bring anything fresh in a storytelling sense to the party. This isn't putting her down in the slightest. You know, Ali's channel's going from strength to strength. She was, you know, she was very good to work with, but she's not the secret ingredient. And that's what I'm always looking for, is I'm looking for people who might be the secret ingredient. So if you want to do a video with me and I go, look, it's not really going to, it's purely because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen where it is that you would fit into things that might make you a secret ingredient. Sometimes I'll work with people just for the sake of doing a video, just for the sake of working with people. But I'm looking for the X factor, and it's quite hard to define, but I'll know it if I hear it. Yes. Anyway, multiplayer games coming up, and there's going to be lots of opportunity for you to get involved in that. Okay, good. I'm not going to talk about that one. I'll do it another time. You've had an hour of this already. Finally, last point for today is I'm away for 2 weeks in April. The first half of it is, I don't think she's back yet. I'm going to gamble on it. The first half of it is for my mother-in-law. For my mother-in-law's birthday, her entire family is getting together in some lodge in the middle of the country, and it's 5 days of being incarcerated. I like her family just fine. They're great. 5 days is more time than I want to be in one place ever, other than home, because home is where I keep all my stuff. So that's going to be entertaining. But then to recover from that, we're off to Greece for a week, just herself and I. She gets the wanderlust occasionally, and we have an agreement whereby once a year she will go on holiday without me. She has a great time. She gets to explore historical cities of interest. I have a great time. I have the house to myself. I can think of nothing better. And initially, she'd get very upset when I would take a week of holiday when she was going away. And I pointed out to her, I go, this is how I mentally defuzz, is I need so little human contact that I get bored, because I don't get bored ever. I have so much I'm trying to accomplish, but I just don't get bored. So yeah, so this is the week that we're both going away. We're going to Greece. Hopefully the weather will be suitably splendid. So what I'm going to try and do, this is where this becomes relevant to you, is I am going to try and put together, I'll do my Transport Fever bookends for each week. That won't be a problem. And then I'm going to try and have one game that runs over the rest of that 2 week period, and then hopefully at the end of that I'll just kind of go and I'm done with that game, so I can get a fresh start when I come back. So that's 2 weeks of extra video that I've got to record at some point in the next few weeks. When am I going to do that? If I spend all my time talking to you people, it's not going to happen, is it? Right, that's your lot. Thanks for supporting the channel. It really is very much appreciated. This year is going to be interesting, and I hope that you stick around to see it transpire. If for any reason you want to cancel your backing, but you've backed for a bit, and you kind of go like, sneakers are reduced, would you? I kind of go like, yeah, all right, I'll fling you on once in a while, because you've helped me out in the past, and therefore I acknowledge that and so forth. You know, don't take the mickey, but I'm a decent human individual, and as much as I am a slightly mercenary from time to time, I'm still a decent human individual, and therefore we're all in this together. So yeah, this year going to be interesting, and so far it has been. I'm done here. I'm going to go do something else. Thanks for watching. Cheerio!